Hey, Notes Community, it is Shamika, and I am back with our live office hours. If you have not joined us, we are doing our last office hours next Wednesday, December 20th at 12 p.m. Eastern. So go ahead and save it in your calendar, join the conversation, drop your questions, and let's get them answered. So this is a quick repay from our most recent office hours, and we have some questions that I thought might be of benefit to you guys to get some answers to. So let's get started. But before we get started, why don't you go ahead and click that subscribe button and join our community? One of the largest social media communities out there talking about everything healthcare staffing. So join us. And if you like the video, click the like button. So let's get started with our conversation. As always, thanks for joining our community. And you can feel free to follow us at all of our social media accounts at THENOSAGRP. Check out our website as we'll have a ton. When I say a ton, we're bringing in the whole library, guys, of content information, digital products, planners, books, cups, have it all available to you guys to purchase and get some more information about starting your healthcare staffing business, beginning the journey to the ultimate goal and success here in the healthcare business. So join us on our social media and get updates, or you can check out our website to find out more information about what we have coming here at the end of this month. So our first question is a doozy, but it's a really good question, and it's coming in from our YouTube channel. And shout out to that person that shared the question. So I replied on the YouTube channel, but I thought it was a great question to add to our office hours live session. So we're going to do that. And this question reads, what is the biggest barrier? And that part alone could be its own question. But it says the high cost of all the insurances. To simply get started, are there any other types of funding or help to cover the cost of all of the insurance that is needed to start the business in the first place, like workers' comp, general professional liability insurance? All of these are super expensive for someone who is low income and trying to start. And that's true. I've spoken with so many people that want to start a business such as this, but they don't have $10,000 up front to get it going. Is there any help with people who want to truly be beneficial in helping people with in-home care settings or staffing? What if you what happens if you don't have the money to pay for all of these things? Insurance is to get started, but you have an amazing staff and have an amazing business plan. How can we get in and not have to keep being stagnant because we cannot afford the cost of all the insurances? So this is the perfect question. One, we're going to drop here below the conversation where I talk a little bit about more insurance, talk a little bit about more on business insurance. So I've done a couple of videos on it. So this question was definitely on point. But also, I'm going to go ahead and give my take. And I want you guys to tell me more. This has been a conversation happening probably for the last 2 years. And in the videos that I've done on insurance, I talk about some of the changes. So one of the nice things is that we kind of seen the industry change in the last 3 or 4 years. So from the time the pandemic hit until recently, around how that whole business insurance works. So let's pick this apart and answer a couple of the questions here for you guys. And if you have other experiences, as I know many people have had this question a ton of times within the group on other social media platforms as well, feel free to share your take. So, has the insurance gone up? Yeah, it has. Is it because of COVID? Yeah, it is. And really, it's just because, just like with any insurance, whether it's homeowners, car, when the risk goes up, the amount goes up. So this was something that happened on an industry level, so healthcare. So it did go up. So we saw increases in premiums, as this person mentioned, upwards of 10,000 plus. One thing that I will say that you want to take into consideration when you're like getting a quote is making sure that you're getting a quote that covers the things that you need, right? And a lot of that is based on what is your business, where is it located, what is it doing, how many employees do you have, what types of professions are they working in, and then what types of facilities are you placing them into. And finally, it may include what is your client asking of you. So make sure you take those into. into consideration. What to do if you don't have the money. So I haven't brought this video back up, but I will put it back up to the front of the page. But getting insurance or business insurance as a business directly isn't the only way to get it. So there are other options. And part of my response to this person was that the other options will put you in a different type of business, right? So in this instance, the person is saying, hey, I have my LLC, S Corp partnership or whatever. I want this business, this name to be insured to provide staffing services. And then of course you get a quote, probably 10, 15, $12,000. But you can go through a third party, which could be a back office or an EOR, employer record, to get your business insurance and obtain it that way. The only difference is when you do it that way, it changes the model of your business from what people traditionally see. So I get the employees, I hire them, I do backgrounds, I credential them, I place them, I pay them. When you do it back offices or employee of records, they operate as a third party. So they may carry the insurance and they may provide payroll funding services too. So the part that your business will play would be that you may be involved with recruiting, credentialing piece, and then of course obtaining the client. So it's a little bit different. And my response also included the fact that deciding to go one way or the other is really based on where you want your business to ultimately be. And I say that because sometimes that model works. You know, it works where they're handling their piece, you're handling your piece, you receive your monies, and you're good to go. Other people may want to have full control over their business. So they want to take on the business insurance themselves. In those instances, you may have state funds or you may have pay as you go options available in your respective states around that types of services. But you really have to understand starting a business, any business, you're going to have some sort of capital. So I wouldn't move away from the idea of looking for investors and other people that may not have the knowledge base but may see what you're doing as an opportunity and working with them to help you with overcoming these barriers. Because if it's not the 10,000 for the insurance, it'll be payroll costs, taxes, unemployment, workers comp. So those initial startup expenses are extensive, but they're important in kind of getting you going and on your feet. So I hope that answers your question. As I know many people have struggled in this area. I'll drop the video, like I said, below that I talk about the back office employer record. My main thing with anything that you choose to do, whether it's a product or a service, you want to make sure that you're clear as to what you're doing, how long you're kind of tied to doing it, and then any sort of outcomes on the back end. So I touch on all of those things there. And once you're clear as to what you want your business to do, then you're able to make more sound decisions when it comes to either partnering through an investor or working with a back office or employee of record type of company. So, and just to caveat all of this, I am not an insurance provider. I'm speaking on my experiences and things that I know. You want to get with someone that's in the business that can ask questions. I encourage you to ask a lot of questions during this process because some of the stuff that I've learned from asking a ton of questions. So let's move on to our next question. As always, we have office hours every other Wednesday. I think based on some of the feedback, we might start doing office hours every week and do a morning session one week and then an afternoon session the next week. Feel free to drop the comments in the comment below to let me know if you're doing the AM or the PM. That way we can cover more people's involvement and engagement. If you can't make the office hours, it's okay. Do like these individuals did. Drop your question in the comments below. We'll add it to the office hour sessions and we'll get your question answered. On to our next question. This is a good question, especially early on, because you want to figure this out for yourself. You want to have something to work with. Is it the standard profit margin still 25 to 30%? And this question was in our Facebook group, and it got a tremendous amount of response, engagement, and comments, which I always love. And then the second part of the question was, I was given a different formula to use using a blank hours using this formula, it would yield you a 70% profit margin. Is it realistic to submit to a facility? So I'm really going to focus on the first part of the question just because there's some missing pieces to the bottom part, and the bottom part answer is pretty clear. Nobody's yielding a 70% profit margin. I think some of the tech platforms might get close to that, but the people here at the NOSA community agreed, and that wasn't a feasible profit margin. So in the comments, there was more details given around what the hourly rate was, but essentially, it's a standard profit margin still 25 to 30%. So that was something that was used, and I think it's still applicable. Probably 2018, 2019, as we went into 2020, as what the profit margin was for our industry. I think during the height of the pandemic, maybe like middle 2020s into 2021, the profit margins were much higher. We're definitely on the higher end. And then now that things have stabilized in 2023, I think we're probably seeing even lower than 25% profit margin. And there's a lot of factors with that. The pandemic really had a substantial impact. And really, even before the pandemic, our industry from a healthcare perspective was shifting and moving. So, as you guys know, just in case you don't know, there's a huge population of baby boomers that are eligible for retirement within the healthcare space. And many people during the pandemic, post pandemic, shortly before the pandemic ended, exited the industry, which had a strong impact on employee retention at the staff level, at the agency level, really all levels, permanent placement levels as well. One thing to consider is that there wasn't in place enough or a strong enough of a retention program industry wide or succession program at the staff level, which opened the door to what we see now, which is more and more healthcare facilities are operating their own internal agencies. And I think that's been a stronger and not as much discussed contributor to what we're seeing as far as a profit margin, as far as NOSAs are concerned, is because not only is the use of agencies changing a little bit with some of the tech products that came out or tech platforms, more healthcare facilities are taking on that role of being their own agency. And what that typically looks like, because we see a lot of that here in the area that I'm in, is that if I'm ABC Healthcare, instead of going out into the market and working with the NOSA group to provide staffing services, whether it be on a per diem or contract basis, I'm just going to create a posting and package it like that. Essentially take a PRN job and package it into a 13-week contract, give it a higher pay. Typically, don't give it any benefits because that's kind of how you supplement the higher pay. And, let the person work for the facility. And, to some extent, where some facilities are even offering, for people to do it as independent contractors as well. So, I think that has a bigger impact that people aren't always paying attention to than all the other things that kind of were in the pipeline for the industry that just kind of got pushed out a little bit quicker. So, is the standard profit margin still 25 to 30%? I would say it's a little bit on the lower end, a little bit lower than 25% for many people. And some of this is all area specific because we've seen an influx in the travel market, kind of a downturn a little bit in the per diem market and permanent placement market. So when you think about your profit margins, it's not always like a standard number, but I think overall, and it was also read some of the feedback that was given. It's a little bit lower, but I think as we go into 2024, we'll see it move back into that direction as the market stabilizes. We also saw during the pandemic a lot of organizations were merged. There was a lot of mergers. There was a lot of acquisitions, which of course impact the profit margins as well. As always, thanks. Thanks for joining us on our office hours live. If you got questions, drop them in the comments below or feel free to drop them on any of our social media platforms. Thanks for being a part of our community and supporting us. And we'll be chatting with you during our next live office hours.